I found out about a grant opportunity a few months ago with very little time to prepare, but I went to the information session anyway. I brainstormed about ideas that I could use for my project in applying for this grant. I even had a conversation with somebody that felt like divine timing or kismet or destiny, because that one conversation changed the whole trajectory of my application, and somehow I ended up winning the 2026 Artist Innovation Fellowship Grant from the Palm Beach County Cultural Council. I'm making this video in case you're an artist, a creative, a poet, anybody who has a passion and wants to secure funding to pursue that passion. I think this video might help you and inspire you. I discovered this grant opportunity because I signed up for emails from my county's cultural council. And I opened one on November 29th, advertising an information session about the Artist Fellowship Grant that featured previous winners of the grant, but it was taking place 2 days later. I already had plans. It didn't seem like the timing would work out, but I RSVP'd anyway, and I went to the information session. At that session, I found out all about what it takes to apply for and succeed at winning the Artist Innovation Fellowship Grant. That's step one. If you're an artist, connect with your community. So let me tell you how I tried to talk myself out of attending the information session. I had choir practice scheduled. By the time I had made up my mind that I was gonna go, I was gonna be super late. But I went anyway, and I'm so glad I did, because the women who were there who had won this project in the past totally inspired me to go for it. But what else it put in my mind was that I needed a kick-ass project, and I needed to get started on brainstorming like right this instant, because the deadline to apply was 2 weeks away. 2 weeks. Now, mind you, I've been an artist and a poet, a slam champion for many, many years, and I've done many, many things in my career, but I could not figure out what idea to lock down on and use in my application for this grant. I thought of 50 million bajillion things where I was like, oh, this will knock their socks off, this will impress them, but nothing felt right. It really felt like posturing, and it felt like bullshit. So, yeah, I was kind of shooting myself in the foot at first with these big conceptual ideas. So now let me tell you how God be working, and how prayer be working, and how timing is so important. So I have been working on the grant for a few days, and I got an email from my apartment complex that they were having like a little foodie, like fun event for the residents. So I was in the middle of working on the grant, and I decided to go down to that event, then go back upstairs and get back to work. So while I was there, I ended up sitting at a table with strangers, and this one particular stranger, his name is Ira, shout out to Ira. But we were talking, and he asked me what I did for a living, and I asked him what he did for a living, and writing came up, of course, and I was telling him that I'm a poet, I'm a writer, and he said, oh, I'm a writer too. So we're making small talk, and I mentioned to him that I was in the middle of applying for a grant, and I had an idea, and I've been working on it and trying to, hone in on it and get it narrowed down and very concise. And after explaining it to him, he said, well, have you ever published a book of your own poetry? And I said, actually, no, I have not. And he said, well, why don't you just do that? And it was literally like somebody hit me over the head, because I'm like, damn, that is so it. That's it. Books are forever. And for me not to have a book of my own poetry with an ISBN number published by a publishing house that has some notoriety, I was like, yes, hell yes. Why haven't I done that? My art is just scattered across the internet. It's just out there on random blogs that I kept up and then let go. It's in different anthologies and literary magazines that I've been published in, but my poetry does not have a home in its own book. So that is what I locked in on. I thanked him so much, and I went back upstairs and I scrapped everything and I got to work on what kind of poetry book do I want to publish as a representation of my first officially published collection. So once I realized that the simplest idea was the best one, it was like an awakening of authenticity within me, that it would be a dream come true, literally, for me to publish an official collection of my work. And that's one thing about grants. You have to find something that resonates with you in order for it to resonate with the people on the other side of that application who are going to be reading it and judging it and holding it up against all the other applicants. So find something that is in your heart, in your soul, in your bones, and do that thing. Bring authenticity to the table. That also makes bringing the element of storytelling to the table. That's what it did for me. I was able to tell the story of being a little girl, 8 years old, 9 years old, writing poetry in my diary, and how it's always been a part of my life. It grew into a career. It grew into part of who I am. It gave me a community of artists to belong to and to validate, to give legs to the work that I've put out there. I needed a book. So y'all, when I tell you, once I had the project down, once I had the scope of the project and the idea for the project down, I worked on this damn grant application every day. Every night when my evening freed up, I was working on this grant application. I did not give in to distraction. I did not give in to what somebody else wanted to do with me and my time. I locked in. The deadline was less than a week away by this time when I actually narrowed down the damn project and the idea. So that's part of what you need to do, is when you have set yourself out on a mission to accomplish something, lock in. Because as we know, as you're writing something and working on something, everything starts to just blend together and you cannot be your own editor. So I needed to give myself time for other people to look over what I'd written so that I could then go in and finalize every answer to every question in the grant application. And part of that process also involved reading the grant application and requirements clearly, because nothing is worse than finding an opportunity, getting started, and then realizing that you missed something. So read that application and its guidelines so clearly that you have no question about what it is you need to do, what supporting documentation or evidence of eligibility that you need to provide, and that you are actually providing answers to the questions that they are asking. Those answers have to be super specific. And if you're not reading the question for what it's actually asking you, you could miss out on thousands of dollars of funding and opportunity. So since I was up against a tight deadline, the people who I asked to read my grant application were also up against a tight deadline, and only one person actually replied to me and got back to me with feedback before I submitted the grant. Just one. It was my mama. So at this point, once I hit submit, about an hour and a half before the midnight deadline, all I could do was wait. It was just put it out there to the universe and wait and pray about it and wait. Y'all, when I received the phone call that I had won that grant, the lady called me. She said, "Is this Liz Straight?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, I'm calling from the Cultural Council to let you know that you're one of the winners of our 2026 Artist Innovation Fellowship Grant." When I tell you, I screamed, I hollered, I fell on the floor. You would have thought I grew up in a Pentecostal church, not a Catholic church. But my reaction was like, you know what? I deserve this. I went to the meeting, I acted on that email, I took notes, I read that application 50 million times, I got my evidence together, my videos, my poems, everything that I needed. I checked off a list, I completed that list, and I won that grant. It was one of the best things that's ever happened to me because I did it by myself. And I did it based on my own motivation. I told myself yes. I said yes to my craft. I said yes to my vision and my journey as an artist. And I said yes to my future. Yes, I didn't talk myself out of it. I didn't make myself seem small. In that grant application, I showed up and I showed out because that's what I am. I gave a true representation of my greatness, of my capability, of my accomplishments. I celebrated myself in that application. I was not afraid to brag and pop my collar a little bit and set up the application so that if they told me no, I knew that there must have been an exponential amount of talent represented in that application pool if they told me no. And I knew that if they told me no, that just wasn't for me. I had already reconciled that this grant is mine. And if for some reason it is not meant to be, that's okay. Because after applying, I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it by myself. I knew what it felt like to do it under pressure. And I knew that with more time, I could probably do even better. So I had already reconciled to let go and let God, as they say. But when I got that news, y'all, I felt so accomplished that I knew it was like, holy crap. What grant am I going to apply for next? So when you come across an opportunity, one, find yourself prepared, okay? When the opportunity speaks to you, like this one did to me, act on it. Do not belittle yourself. Do not make yourself small. Act on it. And know that when you step into a room, you deserve to be there. You deserve it. So move on that, act on that feeling when an opportunity comes to you. Throw the Hail Mary and give it a try, because you never know what's going to happen on the other side. You never know what connections you're going to make, even if you don't win. If you're an artist or a writer who's thinking about applying for grants, so my biggest takeaway, if you take away anything from this video, is do it. Do it, do it, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it. And do it. Just do it. Don't sue me, Nike. This one action of checking an email, going to a meeting, having a conversation with a stranger is now going to turn into my first book of poetry. And if you want more content about writing and publishing and creative careers, let me know in the comments, please. And if you want to subscribe, I have a lot of experience with that. And now I have experience writing and winning a $10,000 grant. So one conversation, checking one email, turned into $10,000 for me to do exactly what I wanted to do with that money and grow as an artist. So take away these things from the video that you just watched. Always set yourself up for opportunity to come knocking at your door. You don't need the most complicated idea. Clarity beats complexity, y'all. And apply even if you feel like you're late to the game, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Look out for more content about grant writing, this particular grant journey, and I look forward to engaging with you again. Peace.